Alright, so today we're going to be changing the speakers in this Roadtrek Popular 190, and we're going to be going after some of the radio wiring as well. So you can see I got one door card out. This van's had other speakers in it before. These are Pioneer three-way speakers. You can see that. I think they're 6.5 inch. You can look up the spec. So I bought some JBL speakers that have component tweeters. So the tweeters are going to go up in the door, just kind of near the mirror, kind of facing at the occupants. If you look at newer vehicles, that's how you'll see the tweeters divorced from the main speakers. And then with the Roadtrek, it had 4x6 speakers in it. I don't know if we can get it to change the light setting there, so you can see there's about like 1.5 inches of depth where the speakers go in, and then there's like a false space. In past Roadtreks, I think the speakers poked up into the storage compartments. I think that's how the last one was, and it had little boxes over the speakers. This time they did it a bit different. With the 6x9s, you need speaker pods of some sort. These are going to be a bit unwieldy. They're kind of big, but that was sort of the way to go to kind of get this project on the go quickly, because I'm going on vacation and I wanted to have better speakers. That's part of how I enjoy my trips. So this is going to probably stick out about 4.5 inches down. So you'll have to keep that in mind when you're sitting in the corners. You not to bump your head on the speakers. And then I think this van's going to need a sub. Even with those speakers, it's not going to be quite adequate amount of power. These rear speakers are JBL Club 964Ms. The other speakers I'm getting are Club 64M TC or something like that. I had to ship back the first batch. We'll get another set of speakers. And you also need a radio interface. These aren't too expensive, they're like $100, and it's a good one. Interesting that it's USB updatable. I haven't looked into that, but there is a USB port on it right there. So this here controls your radio accessory power. So when you close the door or whatever, sorry, when you turn off your key, the radio will run for like 15 minutes or something. So this does that. And then the original radio also had the a couple of things in it. So it had the door chimes. So if you left your lights on, or if you were opening the door chimes would do things like that. So this interface box has a speaker in it, and it's newer than what you're going to see. It's currently in the vehicle. This one actually has wiring for the speed sensor, parking brake, and reverse in it. So there must be like a CAN bus or some kind of data bus that is picking off of from the body control module. You don't need to do the hard wiring on your own. I've got the Crutchfield master sheet here if you want to pause and take a look at that. Let's go one page at a time. It talks about how to pull the dash out on here. More dash stuff. It's kind of tricky. You got to kind of put the steering wheel down towards yourself, and I think you got to put it in drive or pull the gear select all the way down, and eventually you'll get it out of there. If you're not going doubled in, you'll need a spacer. Then to pull the door cards out, you pull off this top piece. That's where I'm going to be putting my tweeter. Then you pull off that, and eventually you'll get the door cards out. And then some of them may or may not be riveted to vehicles. It doesn't really matter. You will get a wiring harness adapter to go from here to the speaker if you go through Crutchfield. Otherwise, you'll need to buy that separate for your speakers, or cut into the wiring, whatever you want to do. The rear of the Roadtrek, there are speakers in the doors, but they are not connected because they are underneath of the bed. so they serve no purpose unless you're tailgating, but they're not hooked up, so forget it, unless you want to get an amp and drive them. Some details on wiring. Here's another important page. So just to take a look at this. So you could see anything with a 1, you can just get it generated through this box, and it has a wire for you, but it gives you your speaker colors. The Roadtrek speakers, I don't think they match. They're a bit different. They're like labeled A, B, C, D. So I'm probably going to have to use a multimeter and check them from the back up to the plug in the dash and see which ones are positive out back, so that I don't get the polarity mixed up on those speakers. And the original thing, I had to break into the BCM to get the reverse signal, but you don't need to do that with the modern kit. So I don't know if you can see it there or not, but I had tapped into the BCM back here, but you don't need to do that now. This had a couple of things in it. So it had a Scotch adapter in it, so it does the chime, and it's got the stereo interface in it. These also, the original radios that were in here, were able to program key fobs. So like to program a new key fob, you would use the radio to do that. But when you take this out, you end up needing to use a scan tool to program new fobs, so you do lose that functionality. But basically, this one was acting up. A couple times an hour, the radio would turn off briefly, and either I got a BCM problem or a wiring problem. So I'm going to solder the new adapter on instead of using the crimps, and then I should be good to go, I'm hoping. So that's kind of where we're at. So we'll take a look. You see I've got a hole saw here and some tools. Some more stuff there. Basically with these speakers, there's no hole in the back, so I got to do a hole here so the speaker can breathe. We're not trying to do a miniature sealed subwoofer. That is not the goal of today. So I just use a hole saw and chop a hole through here. These are fairly thick, so I think it'll take it without any damage. And then I'm going to pre-drill for the speakers before trying to put this all together, because I don't want to be laying on my back trying to do this and slip and put a hole through the speaker. So you can see that. The original speakers were some AudioVox Rampage speakers here, and like I said, the wiring doesn't match what was in the manual, so I'm just going to have to check and see which one is positive and negative. I'll just ground it on one end and then check for continuity to ground on the other end, and we'll know what's going on there. Yeah, so I think that's more or less it. These other little speakers just weren't doing it for me, and these bigger ones may or may not be adequate, because like I'm kind of used to like the truck. It's got big speakers in all 4 doors, and they're all like right close to each other, and it sounds fantastic. And my Jeep had a good stereo system as well, so I'm kind of used to having a decent like Mopar stereo system, and this is not working out for me. There might be some other videos working on the battery. I'm not sure. Lots of stuff going on with the van right now, so there'd probably be a couple of videos that come out. So I'll just get some of this progress and we'll take another look. Okay, we got the speaker kind of roughed in here. I cut the holes. I did like 4-inch kind of holes, and used the screws that came with the speakers. They would have fit without the holes, but like I said, you need to have a bit of breathing. They're meant to go indoors, right? And doors aren't sealed, not entirely. So we've got that, and then these are the Metra items here for the adapters, and you'll need these even though you're not using the factory wiring, because there's two different size spade connectors. And I should have put them on before I put the speaker in, so I have to pull that out. And then getting this out with the grill off of the speaker is not that bad. You just kind of reach in and push it out one at a time. There's what, like 8 tabs or something holding it on. But getting that off after you install it in the vehicle, I don't know, it's not going to be easy. So probably save putting those onto the speakers until you're 100% done, you know everything is working, you're completely happy. Otherwise you may damage them trying to pull them off. So I just go and get the other speaker set up, then I'll get these pigtails on the speakers as well, and we'll start working inside the van. Just did the wiring testing, and in my vehicle the tan wires ended up being positive. So what I did was I took a jumper from ground and clipped it into a wire, and then checked that the head unit wiring to see which is positive, and that's what I came up with. Both the tan ones were positive, and then they were on the correct side, but they actually had the polarity flipped for Roadtrek at the factory. So that's being fixed, and I've got these mounted, the pigtails sticking out. The black is black on here, black is negative on here, and then on the right side the red is negative, and on the driver's side the white is negative. So we'll get those wired up. Alright, got the speakers mounted up, and yeah, they're hanging down more than the light, probably twice as much as the light, so you won't be able to kind of put your head in the corner. If you want to sit up, you have to kind of sit up in the middle of the area, but I'm happy with the way that went in. It's not permanent. I just used 4 screws to hold these on. Then I'll put the grills on after I get things tested. I think that's going to be a big improvement. And I'm going to start doing the wiring up front next. Relocated to the basement and took care of the wiring. Just used a soldering iron and some double layer heat shrink tubing to seal things up. So I cut off the original controller. It didn't really have anything important going on with it. I matched up all the wires on the new controller. I will say that with this particular product, the wiring is not labeled. You have to check on here and see what you connect. I chose to do the illumination off of the interface rather than the vehicle. I'm not sure if that's populated inside of the vehicle side of the harness or not. And I am going to use the amp power from the interface to run the camera. So I want the camera to be powered anytime the vehicle is powered. That way you can switch inputs and view out the back of the camera. If you use the reverse light to power the camera, you need to be in reverse to view the camera, so that doesn't work. There is the reverse trigger is wired in here, and it'll tell the radio when it's in reverse, so it'll flip to the camera and it'll be instant. There's no lag time. And previously I had a wireless system from the front to the back of the vehicle, and it wasn't working reliably. So I'm going to run a video cable with an extra wire to the back of the camera to give it power off of this blue wire. And that's the way I'm choosing to do it this time, now that I've got a bit more experience. It's a bit more effort trying to get that wire from one end of the van to the other, but it's going to be worth it based on my experience. It just takes away a few failure points that will come to haunt you down the road. So things went good. There's no steering wheel interface on this vehicle, so you don't need to hook that up or buy that part. Otherwise you would use this to plug into the back of the radio, or if you wanted to, there's steering wheel interface wires here. There's a couple other amp power circuits in here that we are also not going to use. So that's about it. There's one wire here that's like orange and pink, they say, just to tape it off. You don't need it. There's that secondary illumination wire that may or may not get hooked up into the car that I'm not using as well. So I'll save that one wire. I'll make that joint when I'm outside, get the camera wired up, and we'll get the speakers set up next. With the rear speakers installed, we're going to be on to the next stage here now, doing the front speakers. And like I said, this van's had the front speakers replaced before, but it's not a big deal. And so I had the 64C speaker first, but it didn't come with these little pods, and I kind of thought that we needed these. It's an extra 20 bucks to get this kit, but you should probably buy them just in case, and you'll see why in a minute. It's just these little pods that you can put the speaker up on the top of the door and kind of face it into the vehicle rather than shooting a tweeter sideways. That's not typically how it's done in modern vehicles. This gives you a bit of an opportunity how to do this, and then you can just leave them in the vehicle. Even if you change these speakers, like, you still have the filters, or you could just abandon them if it doesn't work out for you. But I'm hoping it works out for me and we'll be all set. So I think I showed this before in the video, but we're going to be putting the 6.5 down here in the door. The plates are riveted, but you don't need to really get in there. There's lots of space in the back. And Crutchfield gives you adapters. These were made previously, so I'm going to just check the polarity on these, make sure that they're right. Otherwise, I'm going to be moving on to the Crutchfield adapters. I'm going to have to extend the tweeter wire. I'm going to put the filter in here and then run the tweeter up on here. You can sort of see by the other mirror. And then kind of angle it gently into the cab of the vehicle so that people can get the perception of the tweeters facing towards them. And then the woofer part will be down at your feet, and then there'll be more speakers in the back. So I'm going to get the first one roughed in, then yank that door apart and kind of get it going there too. Front speaker installation is coming along. Got the woofers in, got the filters in. I'm going to pull them down and hot glue them still so they don't rattle. I did have to extend the tweeter wire. I didn't have any duplex wire. Would have been nice if I had it. Kind of come up into this hole here, and then there's a way to go up where the power mirror cabling is. Installing the tweeter pods, you want them installed so that the right one is pointing at the driver's right ear, and then the left one is pointing at the passenger's right ear. That's the goal. I didn't quite get them in symmetrically, unfortunately. I'm pretty close. But so the dash is actually higher on the driver's side. So I would say get the driver's side tweeter pod in first. And to get the angles all right, you have to install the base mount backwards. So the wire normally was supposed to come out here and into the back of the pod. There's another hole in the back of the pod. That's not going to be possible, so what I'm planning on doing is just hopefully being able to poke the wires out, well, have the connector in behind here, and then have the tweeter pod wire in around the back and plug it in rather than drilling any more holes. I'm just going to stick with one hole, or one screw holding this on. There is a little cover piece that you can install to hide the screws, and then if I need to make any adjustments I can do that. And if I find out I need 2 screws, it's not that hard to install it after the fact. And then you just need a hex key to install the fastener on the pod. So that's kind of the installation here. The wiring is not long enough to make it from the filter to each of the speakers, but not a big deal. I ended up not needing the speaker adapters. I just snipped off the ones that were there. So the white tracer is a negative, and it has like a smaller spade connector. It would be nice if they provided some of the mini spades, because these are not typical power connectors. They're something a little bit different in size, and I don't have any of that stuff in stock. So I'm getting ready to put the radio back in. Like I showed before, I had the adapter connected. I was thinking about this a little bit more. On a more modern radio, you would just want to ground the Park Sense wire, or you might even need to get a bypass relay to do that. So with this radio that I'm going to just pull out here in a second, this is like a 10-year-old Android radio. It runs like Android 4.4. It doesn't have CarPlay or Android Auto, unfortunately. So next year I'm going to replace it. I just want to see how it performs with these speakers for this year. So we made the vehicle plug here connect to the radio plug, which goes back into here. Then you've got your GPS antenna and some USB connectors and iPod connectors and stuff. And you can have a front camera on this. You can have multiple cameras. 3 to 4 cameras is pretty common now. And yeah, so we're going to get this installed so you can sort of see the whole operation working together. I still need to run the cable for the rear view camera to redo that. Like I said, I wasn't happy with the wireless system that we had in previously. And yeah, so I keep progressing. I'll show the speakers further installed in this and do some testing, and we'll keep going. Got the first pod installed there with the wire tucked around the back. Worked out good. You will need to pull the little plastic covers off of here in order to stick the pod wires through the back of this. Then you got to put them back on, and there's also like some intermediate spacer that goes in here as well. So you get those 3 parts together and then plug it in. So that's what I'm going to do on this side here, and like I said, we'll get to do some testing after that. It's time for the test. We've got the pods in here, got the key. So one thing we need to do is make sure that the door chime is working, and that's good. So that's coming out of here now rather than the speaker as it was previously if you had a OEM radio. We're gonna have this thing on CBC radio because there's no nobody in their right mind want to copyright that. So let's see if we can close the door. Speaker there. They're playing music now. So turn that off. But I guess what I can say is that the tweeter pods are good. They're in the right spot. They sound good. The speakers down here sound good, but there's not enough bass coming from them, which isn't unexpected. And then the 6x9s in the back are working. They're doing their part. We can find another channel. Not that one. So these radios, you can get them for like $100, and they're okay. Like I put a Kenwood in my Honda because it's a little more complicated vehicle. That sounds like CBC. So if you turn it up, the speakers move, doing their thing. But there's not enough bass. But they're good quality speakers. So I'm got what I expected. I was hoping to get more, but that didn't work out, unfortunately. So yeah, we'll get the vehicle put back together. You will need to get a GM radio harness adapter or an extension to make it reach the radio. I guess it's just an extension. No, it is like a funny connector. That's right. So you need to get a GM adapter, the interface module, and you should be good to go. These radios, it's not easy to update the Android, so that's kind of like the issue with them. You kind of get the one that you're happy with for functionality. This one, because it's an Android computer, you need to get it up close to your house to give it Wi-Fi to update it, unless you have a hotspot. So that can be a bit of a problem. But they have RDS. I don't think they have HD radio with the channel icons, but they're still pretty good. And like I said, for the camper, I'm happy with this style of radio. For our daily driver, I decided to go with a much more expensive radio because of that way it interfaces. Like some cars, they have like the HVAC and everything built into the radio. You need to get like a Maestro radio with the data link adapters to use those. But with this vehicle being a 2003, there's some CAN bus interfacing happening back here. Normally you can see them by the twisted pairs of wires, but I don't see them. I don't really know the pinout on this connector. But it's getting enough. It knows that you're in reverse or if your parking brake is on. So it's fine. You don't need to overdo it. And you can do steering wheel controls with the vehicle, or you can do it direct into here because they have steering wheel connectors on it. But ultimately, the project worked out. Not quite happy with the way this white wire is showing, so I'm going to adjust it so that it's the black wire is exposed to the eye versus the white. We'll get the door cards back on, and I'm going to wrap it up from here. And there'll be some other videos. There's a lot more work that needs to be done on this van before we go. So I'll keep on filming videos. So hopefully you found this interesting, and thanks for watching. So I've had the radio set up with the new speakers for about a week now. Haven't done any real driving. But initially I was kind of disappointed with it. I had to go into the equalizer and turn up the bass. And that works up nicely. So you can hear the tweeters. There's no gain on them. The things in the door cards are set to 0 dB, and it sounds good. But they will say that the speakers in the back contribute nothing when you're up in the front of the vehicle. So one thing you could do is wire this with another switch, so you can flip between power from coach battery and regular battery, so that when you're parked you can use the radio, because you can do like video inputs. Right now I've got a video input for the backup camera, but you could also, like I have a TV and DVD player in the back, so you could run video and audio up to your head unit and be able to listen to movies with a bit better speakers than the TV. And then you could also have it for people sitting up front, could also watch the movie up here if you wanted to do that. I chose not to because we don't try to get any attention. We're pretty quiet when we're camping. We don't typically go to campgrounds. We typically park on residential streets. And if you're at a campground, you don't really want to be making a bunch of noise anyway. So not really necessary to have that hooked up. But having the van plugged in and listening to the radio with the back doors open is pretty nice. Yeah, so it worked out good. I am going to be replacing this head unit because it's got a problem with the reverse trigger signals broken in it. And I'm going to be adding a subwoofer anyway. It's pretty good the way it is with the equalizer turned up. I can't really show it to you how like it works. But it's just not quite as much bass as I'd like. So I gotta do a bit of research and find a sub that I'm going to be happy with. And don't think I'll move it between vehicles, but it would be an option. So I gotta think about it before I buy a replacement. And then I'll probably get like an Android 13 head unit. The problem with them is that, like this one, is that it's its own computer. So you have to keep updating it and putting in your personal information. You need a Google account for this, so you might want to make a fake Google account just for your vehicle, but then you won't be able to get access to your emails or anything. So there's some pros and cons to going with the Android, but going with a more expensive head unit just to get Android Auto, I don't think so. I have a video that's coming out on my Honda where I went down that path, and I only did that because I needed to retain features in the vehicle. Otherwise the Android head unit's probably fine, all realistically. So hopefully you found this video useful and interesting, and it might help you make some decisions to upgrade your speakers. I did end up formally putting in the second screw and the cap on the speakers, as they're pointed where I need them to point, and I was afraid that this one would rotate down and get squashed in the door, so I, pardon me, made a permanent connection for those. So thank you for watching.